The Impressionist. The man on the stage took a slow and somewhat insolent bow. He rose after a bare moment's pause while his head had ebbed to a halt near his waist, having once again resumed his perfectly erect posture, for he was a bit shorter than average and could not afford to yield a single fraction of an inch to slouching. He gave a single impudent wave to the sparse audience and soon disappeared behind the folds of one side of the drawn stage curtain. He went out the stage exit and walked along the hallway to the dressing room, which he occupied briefly once every 2 months. That's how long his entertainment circuit required for him to make one complete round. The smaller towns were always a single-night affair. Some of his brother and sister comics might spend 3 days in one town, providing their act had caught fire with the audience. Jackson Theodophilus Bayfield, the man who has just left the stage, opened the door to the spare confines of the dressing room, anticipating a quiet, if not soothing, wind-down time. He would relax with a slow drink of Madeira from a bottle which he frequently supplied himself. Wally Fringe was his manager. The guy had once said, "If you can keep them laughing for 10 minutes straight, Bayfield, I'll raise your percentage by a couple of points." "My cut's only a lousy 20%, the skimpiest offer I've ever had to accept," Bayfield said. In return, "You're lucky to have me. Who in hell was that first idiot you sent out there tonight? I'm surprised someone from the audience didn't jump out of their seat, run up onto the stage, and drag that son of a bitch off. He was just plain sad, Wally. Out of luck with a pot hardly big enough to piss in. Where do you find these guys? Hell, I was standing back there taking in his tragic, ill-prepared act. The audience could tell he was nervous, new at the game, ripe to receive a heavy load of guff. Fuck, everyone knows, everyone goes through that, Jack, you know that. No one gives you a break when you first start out. If you ain't got shit, if your act ain't stellar right off the cuff and the bat together, step aside, buddy, because you won't get anywhere in this business." Jack took another sip from his glass of Madeira, which was impossible to find in smaller college towns, which comprised most of his circuit. Once Wally had asked him, "Hey, Jack, what would you do if you weren't doing this comic routine?" "I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't be doing, Wally, and that's selling shoes." "Seriously, man, what would you do?" "Oh, no doubt I'd go back to my old line of work, selling ovens and washing machines at an appliance store. Fuck, who knows? I've got a diverse set of skills, but most of them don't lend themselves to any specific occupation that I can think of. And so my resources go unused, Wally, untapped and unused." Bayfield's smartphone often remained silent. Once in a blue moon he might call his wife, find out how his kids were doing, and once in a while he'd call one of his old flames. And by now they had become accustomed to his unexpected calls, either in the middle of the afternoon or late at night. And though he never phoned anyone after 11 o'clock, especially not Sheila, who never went to bed later than 10 o'clock on most nights and was righteously pissed once when he called her at 10:15. She blew her stack, scolded him, and hung up. They had become quick lovers once back in the day, but as most volatile romances go, which don't end in a pregnancy, his with Sheila merely dissipated after about 6 months, and that was the end of it. About 6 months later, he called her from Missoula, Montana. They talked, and she was actually pleased to hear from him. 6 months had carried her along a different path, one that never had re-intersected his during that entire time even once. After all, he had a family, a wife and kids back then, and she had not quite yet adapted herself to the notion that she had become a homewrecker. But apart from his one late-night phone call, Sheila was always willing to talk to him if she wasn't busy and had time to chat for a while. They kept up on each other's lives and remained friends. If a new man had come into her life, she would tell Jack about the fellow, sketch out his character a bit. And along with Jack, they might make a few inferences from the dude's behavior. What did it indicate? What did it signify? They would speculate. Far more infrequently, they would talk about his newest and latest love affair, for Jack an increasingly unlikely circumstance in which he found himself. There was this growing fraternity of bachelors and an even faster growing sorority of women who had vowed never to get married, whether again or for the first time. And Sheila and Jack both had become members now, each of them having been divorced once. An early afternoon, a few minutes after the night owl Jack had just finished lingering in bed, his tight and painful bladder compelling him toward the bathroom, Sheila called him, an unusual though not remote occurrence. He touched the speaker icon, one of a 5x7 matrix of icons shown on the smartphone's viewing screen. He sat on the toilet in case his violent stream of urine initiated one of his typically reluctant bowel movements. Sheila could not have deduced his physical location in the motel room from the cascading sound of a man taking his first piss of the day, since Jack's entire body muffled any such noise, which surely otherwise, had he chosen to stand, would have alerted her to what he was doing as she proceeded to pour out the details of the problems she was having with her fiancé. Jack, listen. Our wedding had been scheduled for the second week in May. It would have been a garden wedding. But the other day, David said the company he worked for had issued an all-hands-on-deck directive. And consequently, in light of this mandate, his scheduled vacation, and our honeymoon along with it, would have to be postponed. Oh, well, I just about flipped. I couldn't believe this shit he was telling me. He was either lying to me outright, or he'd been too spineless to insist that his scheduled vacation would stand. No postponement. God damn it. Those people he works for are manipulative assholes, Jack. I'm sorry your plans didn't work out, Sheila. Remind me, would you, what does this guy do for a living? I don't remember what you told me. You've probably not even been listening to me. I listened. I just don't remember. Well, okay. He works for a company that manufactures plumbing equipment. Oh. What are you going to do now? I don't know. We just started living together. He's moved into my apartment since his was too small. No more than a room and a toilet and a shower stall. I've been thinking of asking him to leave. Maybe you should. Oh, fuck, I don't know. Well, let me ask you something. Do you love this guy, Sheila? Do you love him? I love to fuck him. That's hardly good enough. What the hell are you going to do when the pizzazz wears off, It's already begun to wear off. Well, you need to do some rethinking. That's my take on the matter.